Hello there, it's Sarah from Paper Lovely. Thanks for joining me today. Before we get started, I want to give a big congratulations to Lynn Griffin. Lynn, you are the winner of my card kit giveaway. Please send me an email with your address and I will get your goodies out in the mail to you. So I am jumping right in here to card number 1, and I am creating all of these cards using the materials that came in the kit that I put together. And I lost a little bit of footage on this first one. So basically what I've done is I took the spider paper and trimmed that down to 4 by 5 1/4. And then I added one of the spiderweb doilies. I used a little bit of art glitter glue behind that and just placed that up towards the corner. I grabbed some white cotton twine that I have in my stash and created a little web line to come down. And then I grabbed a spider from the sticker set and put that on a mini action wobbler. Now the wobbler was still a little bit too big, so I ended up just cutting that directly in half horizontally, and then the spider stuck perfectly on what was left of that. So I placed that down, and then there you can see I added the Happy Halloween sentiment banner, which was part of the ephemera pack. And I gave you a quick look at the stamp set that I'm using, which is the Simon Says Stamp Frightfully Fun set. I did not get the Simon Says Stamp Halloween kit this year, but I really loved the stamp set, so I made sure to pick that up separately. Here for the inside, I am stamping the sentiment, Which Way to the Candy. I've stamped that out using my Lawn Fawn Fake Tan ink, and here I've added one of the smaller spider stickers and I created a line with my memento marker. I'll use my ATG gun to attach that on the inside of the card base, and this card base is made from MFT's Orange Zest. And that will complete card number 1. For card number 2, I have taken this web paper and again trimmed that down to 4 by 5 1/4. I'm going to create a little bit of grass, so I'm taking a small section of the book paper that I've trimmed off, and I'm using my Martha Stewart fringe scissors to cut some blades of grass in that. Now, if I'd been thinking ahead, I decided I wanted to add a little bit of this Distress Oxide Twisted Citron ink. I probably should have done that before I added the fringe because I did have one that tore off, but I was able to make it work out okay. I just suggest if you're going to copy this that you go ahead and dye your paper first and then cut the fringe. Here I'm giving that fringe a little bit of a haircut. It was just slightly too long for what I was looking for. And then I'm just ruffling up the edges to give that a little bit of texture. I've grabbed my 1/2 inch Scor-Tape. I'm going to go ahead and run that along the bottom of my panel. And then I'll peel back that lining and go ahead and place down the grass. And then I just grabbed one of those extra pieces of fringe and stuck that in where I was missing one. So I'll trim off that excess, and then I grabbed a piece of this lime green ribbon from my stash. I'm adding some 1/4 inch Scor-Tape behind that. And then I'll add that across the top of my sky there. I played around a little bit. I wanted to have some grass in front of the little trick-or-treaters, so I was trying to sort of pick different blades to stick in front of them, and I just could not get it to look the way that I wanted it to. So what I did was I went ahead and created another shorter set of the grass fringe. And I'm gonna take my art glitter glue here and stick down my little characters, and then I will place that grass fringe on top. And this time I went ahead and added the Scor-Tape to the back of the fringe, and then I'll go ahead and place that down. When I got that placed down, I again trimmed off the excess and then just went through to rough it up a little bit more. It still wasn't giving me quite the texture that I was looking for, so I ended up taking some of the fringes and tearing them off. So there's just a few sticking out in front, and then of course that whole layer behind. I did go through as well and give it another haircut just to make it a little more uneven, so it would look like blades of grass. Once I was happy with that, I took that banner that reads "You're Bewitching" and added some foam tape behind that. I'll peel away the backing, and then I'm going to place that down on top of that green, lime green ribbon. I'll go ahead then and take that panel and place that on the top of my card base. This card base is made from MFT's Grape Jelly cardstock. And then for the inside, I'm working on a Nina panel trimmed to 4x5 1/4, and I'm stamping out the sentiment "Happy Halloween" again with that Lawn Fawn fake tan ink. Since my front was so busy, I decided to keep the inside simple. I'm just going to leave that sentiment on its own, and I'll add some ATG gun to the back and place that on the inside of the card. For our last touch, I'm going to add a little bit of glitter, and this is using the Nuvo glitter pen. So I'm adding some over the mask, the ghost costume, and then I'll add a little bit to the trick-or-treat bag that the monster is holding. And that will complete card number 2. For card number 3, I'm going to start by embossing this sentiment "You're So Awesome, It's." And I'm just using some Black Recollections cardstock from Michaels. Here I'll add a little bit of my EK Success powder tool, and then I'll stamp that out using Versamark ink, and I will heat set that using Simon Says Stamp Fine Detail White Embossing Powder. I trimmed that down into a smaller strip, and then here I've got a piece of this floral pattern paper that I've trimmed to 4x5 1/4, and the leftover piece of that black spiderweb paper. This measures roughly 2 to 2.5 inches. I'm going to place that across the top of the floral pattern paper, and then I'll trim off the excess. Went ahead and placed that panel down on the top of my card base, and this card base is made from MFT's Tangy Orange cardstock. Then I'm going to play around with these 3 pumpkins. So 2 are a sticker and 1 is from the ephemera pack. I love that white one with those glowing pink eyes. So once I'm happy with those, I'll go ahead and place down the one in the back, and I added a little bit of glue behind the ephemera piece. And here I'm taking that white pumpkin and popping him up using some foam squares. Next, I'm taking that sentiment. I'm just going to mark where I want to trim that off. I didn't want it to go over the edge of my panel. I'll again add some foam tape to the back of that sentiment, And then I'm going to place that down, and I just put it over the area where the black spider web and the floral pattern meet. For the inside, I'm again on a Neenah panel trimmed to 4x5 1/4, and I'm stamping out the sentiment Boo to You. This time I use Simon Says Stamp Intense Black ink. And then I'll finish up that panel by adding in this little floral piece to match the flowers from the front panel. I'll add my HEG to the back and place that on the inside of the card base. And that will complete card number 3. For card number 4 here, I'm working with some of this book page, and I picked up this American Crafts, it's called DIY Shop Gold's acrylic paints, and it ended up having a really pretty sheen to it. It was water-based, and I was using one of my wet cloths that I used to clean off my stamps. It was partially dry, so it wasn't as wet as it normally would be, but I think that spread out the paint a little bit, and it started giving this really pretty sheen. So I had planned to just do the edge where I had torn it, but I loved it so much that I ended up covering the whole sheet of paper in it. So here I'm adding some HEG to the back of that, and I'm just going to place that over my card base at an angle that I like and press that down. I went ahead and trimmed off the excess, and I'm going to use one of these journaling card pieces right in the center there for my sentiment, but I wanted to go ahead and rough up the edges. So I'm just using my finger to peel that up and accentuate the torn areas. And then I took this card, added some foam tape to the back of it. And I'll go ahead then and place that down in the center. Then I had some of these yellow star stickers, so I decided to add those on the front. I went with a triangle there, and then I decided I wanted to add one more on the top of that, so I ended up using all 4 of them. For the inside, I went with that sentiment Boo to You again, stamping that with Simon Says Stamp Intense Black ink. And then I added a little bit of that orange washi to the bottom. I really like the way this looks when I added it to the inside of the card base. It's very candy corn feeling. Then I wanted it to look a little bit more roughed up, so I'm just running my fingers again along the edge, very gently folding over and crinkling up the edges of that book paper. And that will complete card number 4. So here for card number 5, I've taken that orange and black polka dot paper, trimmed that down to 4x5 1/4, and I'm going to place that down on the top of my card base using my HEG gun. This card base is made from MFT's Grout Gray cardstock. I've got another one of those spiderweb doilies, and here I'm going to add some art glitter glue behind that. I did cover most of the whole back of it because I used quite a bit of it to cover the front of the card base. then I'll go ahead and place that down, just twisting it until I get the look that I like. Then of course I trimmed off the extra there. Here I've grabbed a scrap piece of some gold ribbon and I'm adding some 1/8 inch Scor-Tape behind that. I'll go ahead then and peel off that backing, and I'm going to place that across the top of the card front. Go ahead and trim off the extra there. And then I've grabbed this smaller of the two tombstones and I'm going to add some foam tape to the back of that. Then I grabbed the larger tombstone, added some art glitter glue behind that. I'm going to place that down first. Then I'll peel off the backing on the other one, and I just use the gray line that was on the larger piece to line up the smaller one there. For the inside, I've again got a Nina panel trimmed to 4 by 5 1/4, and I'm going to stamp the sentiment "Full of Frightful Fun." Again, I'm using Simon Says Stamp Intense black ink. And then to finish the inside off, I will add this little bat sticker hanging down from the top. I'll add my ATG to the back of that and place it on the inside of my card base. And that will complete card number 5. Here is a quick look back at the cards from today. You'll find additional photos as well as a full list of supplies at my blog post, linked in the description below. If you enjoyed the video, please leave me a comment or a thumbs up and subscribe for more. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.